Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. Guys, as we speak, we are very close to a global recession. We are not far away from a global recession. And the credit of that goes to the central banks who are unnecessarily hiking the rates. In the last couple of months, we have saw many central banks of the globe have hiked the rate. Very recently, Malaysian central bank hiked by 25 bips. Rather, the Pakistani National Bank hiked by 145 bips. In this short YouTube live, and now we are starting with a YouTube live very often, I would like to let you know that the global recession which we are talking is going to be extremely severe, and unfortunately the international media is not covering that. So let me give you a simplistic example. The international media is saying that this recession, inflation is going up. Because inflation is going up, central banks needs to hike the rate to tame down the inflation. This is what the excuse which is given up by the central banks. And they are saying that the inflation is going up because there is a supply side constraint, which means that, I would say because of the COVID, there is a supply side constraint. But according to me, this inflation is going because of a huge debt in the books of the central banks. Like, if we speak, Federal Reserve himself is having $32 trillion of national debt. And there are many other central banks, those who hold a huge quantity of the debt. And unfortunately, no one is talking about that. It is like 2008 when few people were aware that a crisis is all set to happen, but unfortunately the regulator himself is lying from the last several years. Federal Reserve is trying to misguide the market by saying that there won't be any recession in United States, but the hard reality is that the GDP growth in United States is negative now. And the jobs are cutting, the startups are cutting the job, and so on and so forth. So guys, to be very honest and precise, I personally feel that the recession is round the corner. The recession is not far. Rather, my belief is that recession would be very, very severe, and it is not going away. So if you are thinking that this recession would go away, then I'm sorry, you are incorrect. This recession is here to stay. Another big thing which people do not want it to talk is the ecological order imbalance or ecological imbalance. Like 1 week ago, a glacier got burst in Italy. 7 people died immediately. I don't know how closely you are tracking the ecological disorder, but I am tracking the ecological disorder very closely on the Google. Guys, please do remember that the glaciers are melting worldwide. The sea level is rising. The environment is changing. This will hit the production of all the agriculture commodities. Now, whether this is wheat, this is grain, or whatever it is, this is going to be hitting the production of all agriculture commodities. With this, the supply is going to be constrained while the demand would continue to be rise. Unfortunately, the international media is not covering that. When we speak about Canada, Arctic, Greenland, and all these countries, the permafrost is also melting, and melting at a very severe pace. which means that a huge dislogical order is on the cards, and methane is also spreading in the environment at a much faster pace. So in short, if you are thinking that the central banks would be able to tame this inflation by hiking the rate, then you are completely incorrect. Because very soon central banks will realize their mistake, that because of the hike in the rates, they created a recession, which in turn create a panic. Henceforth, it would be pertinent that you should be very careful in your portfolio selection. Whether this is crypto, whether this is equity, whether this is gold, or whether this is silver. I understand that the central banks are committed mistake and many people will pay the price of this. But an intelligent trader is one who understands these things very, very carefully. So guys, please understand these things from a very careful angle. Do not do anything which will hit you very, very hard. I am expecting Federal Reserve to hike by at least 50 bips in July, followed by 50 bips in August. Because Federal Reserve historically is known of committing mistakes. They committed in 2008 and till 2022 they are committing this mistake. So please be alert. This is what I would like to say. We are moving towards a great recession, rather a big recession. Today, Ola, which is a well-known company in India, saying that they would be starting the laying offs. They are putting all the appraisals on hold. Laying off started in Ola. Byju's cut around 1400 jobs in the last few days. Unacademy, Vedantu, and many more startups, they cut thousands of jobs. So the job cutting is happening within India and outside India also. According to an estimate, around 9 or 10 startups in India cut around 15,000 jobs. In US, this is more than 25,000 jobs. So please be alert. Please be very, very careful. If today market is going up, that doesn't mean the market would continue to go up. Please do remember that the foreign institutional investor is consistently taking the money out of the system. Consistently taking the money out. And this is something which we need to learn. This is something which we need to understand. Please do note that if Federal Reserve, I would say, increased by another 50 basis point, then RBI is pushed to increase by 1%. Already in this June policy, July policy, RBI has to hike by at least 50 basis point to match the Federal Reserve. But if RBI is not hiking, then they unable to match the Federal Reserve. But if RBI is hiking, then the economy of India is in big danger. And we have seen that the institutions, the corporates, the startups, they have already cutting the jobs. This is what I can say. I know that people never learn. They always learn when they have loss in their portfolios. They hardly bother about, I would say, the warnings, because we continue to track the media. We hardly bother about the warnings. But at least I am very careful. Please also note that one big development is happening, which is Chinese yuan is taking over the US dollar. And this is something I'm warning people from the last several quarters, rather couple of years, that Chinese yuan is taking up the US dollar. And very soon we'll have that scenario. So this scenario is also not very far, let it be honest. Now I promise you, we will have regular YouTube lives. We'll have Instagram lives like we are having Facebook lives. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. My personal number 9899242978. I repeat, 9899242978. 99242978.